Good afternoon, ladies and menfolk, and welcome to episode 23 of Word Ninjas Live. For this week, we have Peoples. Calvin has returned from the land of the busy.
I'm still in the land of the busy right now, but figured I'd take a little bit of time to join in on the madness. Also,
And,
hello everybody.
and Justin has also returned from the land of the extra busy.
Yep, 80-hour work week last week. Trying to take some rest days, and figured I'd come join you. That's why I have the disheveled look right now. This will all be repaired come next week, Christmas vacation, which I hopefully don't have to work through.
And then you got myself, who is just returning from the land of the sick.
Really, what happened?
There's like a 24-hour stomach bug going around that I was so far able to avoid until yesterday.
Oh, good times.
Not really.
Is that one of the reasons why you're in black and white right now?
Yeah, I got so sick that the colors disappeared.
It's a pretty serious bug, man. Hope
Now,
you're
did
feeling
they
better.
disappear, or were all the colors expelled? And I'll just leave it at that.
Considering this is still a PG-ish show, let's just leave it at that.
No, done.
Presumably, Will and Ed are both battling retail at the moment, and probably will be for the rest of this year. I don't really expect to see either of them anytime soon.
Not until the new year, at least.
Yeah. But in the meantime, maybe we should get this show a-rolling. Got a couple of talking points this week. First one being, how do you create your voice in your writing? Or what is your literary style?
That's a good one.
Or creative style, as need be.
I can't really pin down my particular creative style because a lot of it is influenced by a lot of TV that I've watched in the throughout the entire '90s, not including not limited to like every single Warner Brothers cartoon that came out in the '90s, which would explain a lot about me if most people ever met me. It was always interesting, in especially like junior high school, especially writing short stories and things like that, because while like every single one of my classmates wrote about like hip hop and everything related to like urban culture, I would write about beat poetry and like have stories that was like reminiscent of like Jerry Lewis style slapstick. So it's basically like my writing, my voice is just a mixture of everything I've come across that has ever really caught my attention. And depending on what I write, I try to either augment it accordingly or pick from like 5 or 6 of those influences. That's about it.
Has anything post-90s influenced you at all? Or is it only the 90s?
Oh, there's plenty post-90s influences, but the majority is like 90s. The ones that have really stuck with me. Trying to think. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was trying to think of some post-90s influences. Oh, post 90s, like most of my influences were music based. So between all the TV I've watched in the 90s and all the music I've listened to in the 2000s and currently. And the random cartoons here and there. Post 90s.
Yeah, I've unfortunately not developed a voice at all. Growing up, I was obsessed with horror, and so read a lot of Goosebumps, followed by some of the other more insidious R.L. Stine stuff. You know, the Fear Street. You know, horrific casual violence really intrigued me growing up. And then eventually I discovered Stephen King, and then I basically stopped reading anything else. And I've literally read every single word that Stephen King read up until he moved to Florida, and then I sort of tapered off from there. But I have a large hardcover collection. And then when I ran out of Stephen King books at a certain point, I ultimately stopped reading because I felt lost, and I didn't know what to do with myself anymore. And that went on for nearly a decade of just not reading anything. And that was when school started picking up. And I've only just gotten back into reading on a regular basis, but a lot of it has been, you know, nonfiction. I really have to start getting into reading more fiction. Ironically enough, the only fiction book that's in circulation on my tablet is another recent Stephen King novel. At one point, I attempted to read the Lord of the Rings, and after the first third of the first book, and they were still wandering around in the woods, not doing anything particularly interesting, I sort of lost interest in the epicness of that. But I'm probably going to retry that at some point when I have more reading under my belt. And I picked up a bunch of Discworld stuff, so I'm trying to play catch up, and do some more, light reading. I don't need to read tomes like uh, A Song of Ice and Fire and whatnot. I just need to read more, and I think that will ultimately help my writing. I have a huge book list of horror novels that I have to write. So I'm sure I'll be slowly developing my voice as I write, but I'm still, a fledgling in the writing and reading world. And this question only proved that to me.
Believe me, you're not the only one. I have piles upon piles upon piles of books that are on my list to read, but I seem to have, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before, I seem to have the attention span of a goldfish when it comes to trying to sit down and read. Like even excuse me, even with like books that really do catch my attention and I find like to be like absolutely this downright fantastic, distractions still hit me, and I just never get around to finishing them. And it makes me sad because there's a lot of books that I really enjoyed reading and never finished.
I feel like I need to start a profile on Goodreads or something, and start pumping out books and getting suggestions or whatnot, and start branching myself out. Start from zero and work my way through the literary landscape. I've got a book of The Art of Short Stories, and there's a lot of good stuff in there that I did read at one point. So I'll be continuing that, I'm sure, and a couple other smaller things. But most of the stuff I've been reading has been nonfiction and comedy based, so I have to get back into reading, especially some horror fiction.
Well, if all else fails, you're welcome to take some of my books off of my hands. I have a stack of 20 over here, got about a stack of 50 on the floor, got another stack on the shelf of 30 to 35, still to be read.
Oh, still to be read. Yes.
The ones I've read are 7 times that, give or take. Have you ever read any of the Cthulhu mythos?
I have one. I haven't read it yet, but I did pick it up at a bargain bin somewhere on a flea market. But we'll get more into that in the next talking point.
Well, that's good because I don't even remember what the next talking point was. I'll still
But
have to scroll down eventually. But first, my answer. Uh, I created my voice by writing a ridiculous amount of words until I started creating certain phrases and styles of dialogue for my characters that I enjoyed or appreciated. And I think a lot of it is influenced by what I've read from high school to college and beyond. Stuff like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the Discworld universe, and I'm rereading the 9-book series by Devin Monk, which is slowly influencing some of my stuff as well, for better or worse. But mostly a lot of fantasy and I don't know if it's 70s or 80s sci-fi pulp type stuff, which makes for a very odd mix.
do
Kind of
you
got
ever read academically, like while you're reading, take notes and whatnot, and highlight passages that you find interesting?
no, I'm very bad at note taking. It probably would help though.
I think I'm going to start doing that with this horror book list that I have. And just start going through the whole list and making notes of things that interest me and things that actually uh, give rise to emotion and try to tap into that.
Yeah, I think if I could take the wit of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the universe building of the Discworld series, and the dialogue style of the Devin Monk series, I'd be all set. But it would require actively taking note of how each one is built respectively, and then trying to figure out how to meld it into my own version. And looking at my notes, that's just for my fiction writing. Technically, I also write nonfiction stuff for my day job, which is a lot more straightforward because I have brand guidelines that I need to follow. And it's all about writing straightforward and actionable writing to engage readers who don't have all day to enjoy a full story. So I got to start with what is the bottom line and put it up top, and add the facts to build off of that. I can't write a 10-page story just to explain why something is the way it is. No one has time for that in the business world, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the exact opposite of my fiction writing, which gets very frustrating when I'm trying to do both in the same day or same week even.
Do you know of any good like horror fantasy, like horror that's set in a fantasy type setting?
Uh, I have a lot of stuff that has minor horror elements, but not primarily horror.
I wonder if, and I'm going to derail this conversation slightly, and I
Yeah, by
apologize.
all means.
Uh, oh, actually, I have an alarm going off in the back that I have to attend to. So vamp for me for a couple seconds. I'll be right back.
All right. Yeah, I know I have horror books amongst all the stuff I have. It's just all mixed together. It's the problem of having too many books all in one place and too many to read. Hopefully, during not this week, but next, I'll have 12 days off from my day job so I can catch up on all the reading that I need to do and all the writing I need to do and everything else, presuming that I don't get sick again. We shall see.
I have returned.
Hooray!
So I would love to combine my my strong world building ability with my sense of style in the horror universe, and combine those into a new subgenre. And
What
I
would you
wonder
call it?
how. I hate to call it horror fantasy or fantasy horror, but there's a lot of like alternative history and like folk tales coming to life where everything is still kind of grounded in uh, a world that is very similar to Earth. And I think that, and I wonder if there's a reason that you don't hear a lot about the about horror in fantasy, like a pure horror, uh, as you tend to try to relate to your audience as much as possible and drag them in kicking and screaming to their own fears. Maybe setting that in a fictional universe that doesn't always make sense might distract readers into giving into their anxieties.
Possibly.
I might have to experiment and play with something. Maybe I'll take a break from my pure horror writing and start doing some short story experimentations and releasing those to the public and see what happens.
Yeah, I was just looking over all the books that I have, trying to think how much horror is in any of them, and the closest series I could get for you is a series by Tanya Huff, but it's too far away to read the titles. But it's primarily the horror elements involve werewolves and undead and weird paranormal stuff that there's no real magic in it. It's more sciencey paranormal stuff, but it's been about 4 years since I read that series, so I kind of forget the fiddly details. But I remember enjoying it at the time.
And then there's always the sci-fi horror, like which don't always pan out well, like Event Horizon.
Those always seem to be a hit or a miss. There's
Yep.
no real in-between ground.
Fantasy. Yeah, because even sci-fi horror, I think people can relate to a believable world, but maybe horror and fantasy is difficult. This is research that I should do and report back next podcast that I'm on.
Mm.
And see
Although
what I
it's
come up
not a
with.
book series, what about Dead Space?
Oh, yeah, that's another example of sci-fi horror. Um, but I wonder if I can tap into something more. I don't know. Yeah, that's another good example of sci-fi horror, and I've been getting a lot of inspiration from video games, sadly, or not sadly, depending on how you look at it. There's some things that there's some good writing to be found.
Mm. I think it's called Amnesia, is another video game that seems like a survival horror game, but I never actually played it.
I played a bit of it. I haven't gone through it a lot. I just don't have the time for video games, which is probably a good change in my life. Come to think of it. But yeah, and then there's the sequel, A Machine for Pigs, which I have to check out. But
That doesn't
yeah,
sound
there's
very scary.
it's a machine for pigs that are being slaughtered. Is that more scary?
Sounds messy.
It can be.
On that note, maybe we should go to talking point number 2. Talking
Nah.
point number 2. What is your favorite bookstore? It can be long gone, still around, fictional, real, or of your own creation even. Would Justin like to go first, or shall I, since Calvin has gone MIA?
I think you should go first.
Okay, okay. Give you time to think about it and Calvin to return. For me, the real one would be Rainy Day Paperbacks, located in Bethel, Connecticut. It's a nice little renovated house with floor-to-ceiling shelves stacked with books of all genres. And each little nook and cranny of the place has different genres, so you can just stick out in one little corner for whatever you want at the moment. and they have like the pre-70s and 80s sci-fi pulp. It's like 25 cents a book or something really nice like that. And they have the more common stuff. It's basically mostly donation based. You can bring an entire bag full of books and donate it, and that goes towards store credit there. So you can buy other books. And at this point, I think I've donated over 100 books to them, and I've probably purchased just as many, if not more. But it's one of the few places where I can find like 60s and 70s sci-fi pulp in short story collections, and well, you can't really find that in Barnes and Nobles or a Books a Million or anything like that. So it's just the used bookstores now that would have them, if anywhere. And as for fictional bookstores, because why not? The Unseen University Library in Ankh-Morpork, based in the Discworld universe, because they basically have every single book that has ever existed or ever will exist. And it's run by a banana-loving orangutan. How could you not appreciate a library like that?
I think for me, my favorite fictional bookstore is probably. Actually, I'm not sure if that's the name of the bookstore, or just the name of the show. But Black Books is a hilarious show about a small bookstore owner and his trials and tribulations that are usually completely unrelated to the bookstore itself after the first couple episodes. But that whole setting and that whole show is pretty hilarious. I find the best bookstores are usually flea markets and yard sales. I tend to get more hardcovers that way because as people are trying to get rid of their collection of books that they don't actually read anymore, a lot of those will end up being hardcovers, and I can usually get those pretty cheap. And then I got a large collection of old, dingy, paperbacks that you can get for super cheap that are barely legible. But I don't usually visit bookstores very often. Again, I need to do more reading, and I need to do more experimental reading where I just go and look at stuff and just start taking stuff, and then or purchasing or renting or whatnot.
Something that may be of interest for you if the schedules align is joining me for Book Expo America in May, I believe it is.
May is my birth month.
I think it's the last week of May in Manhattan at the Javits Center. But I'm going to be going there networking and trying to get maybe an interview if I'm lucky. And they have a ridiculous amount of ARC books and giveaways and signings and all sorts of good stuff.
I want to find like a Pandora for books, where it just gives me a book, and then if you're not Pandora, the music listening website.
Okay. Yeah, there's like 20 different Pandora
box
references I could think of.
Where somebody just hands me a book, and then I read it, and we'll start with shorter books, and I thumbs it up or thumbs it down, and then they can recommend me other books based on my ratings. Like a Netflix for books, combined with the Pandora algorithms. Like, oh, this person likes really graphic sex scenes for some reason. We'll have to recommend him more with that. Or, oh, this guy likes large spanning epics with hilarious fictional characters in them. And they just start recommending me stuff.
I would think there's got to be a website like that somewhere out there.
And if not, we should hurry up and trademark that before one of the listeners steals that idea and makes millions. Quick, email this podcast episode to yourself so that we know that we came up with it first. We got time.
I vote that you and Calvin create it. If Calvin ever returns.
It'd be mostly Calvin creating it, I think. My web knowledge is very low. It used to be good back in the CSS days, but those days are long gone.
Well, you're better off than me. I never really got past HTML.
You're probably designing websites in frames with GeoCities and Angel Fire.
Ugh,
Yep.
no comment.
So many 7-frame GIFs. And your website will only load in Netscape Communicator. Ah, the 90s.
Hmm. Let us never go back there again.
Hmm. Yeah, the 90s was over 10 years ago. I'm trying to think about that.
I think Calvin got kidnapped, possibly for dog walking or some such, so shall we roll into talking point number 3, which isn't really so much of a talking point, but an interesting website of the week.
Please, CJ, tell us about this wonderful website of the week, which I have already looked at, and I'm going to try it live on the air while you explain how it works.
Uh, do you want to screen share it, or shall I?
I'm not sure I know how to screen share.
Left side, which has all the little panel-y options.
Yep.
No, it's
Screen
not.
share.
Yeah, if you click the screen share option, it should give you options of which window you want shown. If you click on whichever internet one it is, it'll then show that. Like that.
I think that worked, right?
Yep.
Nothing inappropriate on my tabs in Google Chrome. That's good. So, CJ, have you tried this website out before? Are you familiar
Yes,
with
I
it?
have. I actually found it this morning and was most entertained by it. It's basically tip of my tongue is the website, although the URL is a bit more funky. It can be found linked in our show notes, of course. But basically, if you're trying to think of a word and you only have bits or pieces of it, you can type in those bits and pieces, and it'll come up with all sorts of word options it could be.
Trying to think of a word that I constantly forget.
How are you going to remember it if you constantly forget?
That's that's the problem I'm having right now.
Well,
Uh,
as an example, try the partial word starting with philo.
is that how you spell Philo? Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it
Could be pretty.
auto-populates all sorts of options, and if it contains certain letters, then I think it needs to be in the particular order, or even if you know what it ends in.
Oh wait, maybe it starts with F. I don't think they have Philo though.
Uh,
I'm not sure it's an English word either. So,
no, it's Greek.
well, that would probably be why they don't have it.
I know it's PH and it ends in O, but I forget
Well,
if there's a
starts with
Y or an
PH,
I.
ends with O. I'm guessing no,
Oh,
but that's okay because it's not English, so we
there it
should be
is.
fine. What?
No, it was the last one.
Wait, what? PHO. Oh, Philo. They just don't have. Oh, Philo is its own word. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that. I thought Philo dough was a single word.
Nope,
Huh.
it's 2 words.
Well, look at that. I learned something new from this website already by accident.
Yeah, I should know, considering I have an entire box of this stuff in my freezer still that I have yet to play with.
See what I did there? Oh, they found the word anagram. My anagram.
Yeah, Calvin, we're just playing with talking point number 3, which is the interesting website of the week.
Okay,
Ooh, I
cool.
have another one for next week.
It's basically a tip of my tongue word finder outer.
Word
lack of a
finder
better term.
outer. So let's see if we can find out if you were trying to find out the word discovery or something. So word meaning find out, or maybe I can't do 2 words. Let's try discover.
Yeah, I think it's still somewhat a work in progress, and they're trying to expand on it little by little.
Okay.
Ooh, ascertain. That's a good word that I got from this list. About discovery. Alright, that's pretty sweet. Min length, 5. Get really short words. Analyze. Berkelium. Oh, radioactive. Ascertainment. Cool.
Wait, I think I just
That's
saw my
pretty
name. Wait, scroll down. Scroll back down to the C's.
Wait, keep going down. I thought your name started with A. Yeah, here. Hey, you are a United States chemist noted for discovering the series of chemical reactions in photosynthesis.
Awesome.
Who knew?
I've learned something new about myself. And apparently I was born in 1911. Much to my surprise.
You look good for your age.
Why, thank you.
What's that sport with the ball and then the goal? A shooter, a player who drives or kicks a ball at the goal. Wow. What's the sport with the ball? Cue ball, racket.
It's a shame that it's not available for the Android market. That would be kind of fun to have on my tablet.
Well, it is a URL link. Probably works mobilely.
That's true.
But yes, I didn't. I just saw the available on the App Store link.
Yeah, and that's to them.
Maybe in a later rendition they'll be able to expand to the Android market. But yeah, as you can see, it's a pretty entertaining little site.
I want to see the longest word that they have. Mother of God.
Let me guess, it's Welsh.
Well, there's some chemical names.
Oh.
Buckminster fullerene.
What did you just call me?
Buckminster fullerene. It's a spheroidal fullerene, the first known example of a fullerene. Well, now I have to know what fullerene is. A form of carbon having a large sphere. Oh, it's a buckyball.
Oh.
Huh.
Well then.
Neat. Holy crap, we're learning so much just from this little website. Quick, abandon the screen share. Keep this to myself. I like this segment. It's interactive.
Yeah. I didn't realize the interesting website was going to be so interesting.
Go figure.
Might have to do that again. Certainly are enough interesting websites out there.
Yeah, we can definitely start pulling our resources, figuring out what'll be good for the podcast, and work safe too.
Yeah, if it needs to be for the Not Suitable for Word Ninjas podcast, we need to make that note before we show it on air.
Most definitely.
So this would mostly apply to Will and Ed for no porn tumblers. Alright, with that wrapped up, let's go to the what are your creative goals for the upcoming week? Actually, scratch that. Let's go to the how did last week's goals go? Because that seems to make more sense.
You know, I was going to bring that up at one point.
I just realized, like, it's kind of weird to do it in backwards order. So, how did last week's goals go for those who had goals?
I worked 80 hours last week. And
Was
that's
that a
all
goal?
I'm going to say on that topic. No, it was not. None of my goals were done because of that. But, on the other hand, I did buy a $600 bottle of scotch.
Ooh, which
with
one?
my overtime money.
Do tell.
I got a 2006 Talisker 30. I needed to get a Scotch that is older than me before I turn 30 because it becomes exceedingly expensive after that.
Ah,
Not that $600 is cheap, but I did a ton of research on what I was looking for in my 30-year-old Scotch, and I knew I wanted a Talisker 30, and I just went online and went through a bunch of people's tasting notes and found out that 2006 was a banner year. And it happened to be the first one that they ever did, and there's only 3,000 bottles in existence.
Dang.
And I'm going to have one, and then I'm going to drink it.
so
All by
then,
yourself and all in one go?
No. I'm going to have one glass when I turn 29, and that will be new bottle flavor. And then I'll let it oxygenate for a year, and then try it when I turn 30. And anyone else who wants to try some is welcome to it, but it comes out to $30 an ounce at cost. And so I can't give this away for free, unfortunately. But if there's any Scotch connoisseurs
Fair enough.
in our circle, maybe Roman would pay me $60 for a dram, then that is an option.
I will consider it because I kind of want to try it.
When are you turning 30?
June 29th, 2015.
You got a couple years to save up some dollars.
All right.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. I'll be giving it at cost. I'm not going to put any upcharge on it. So this will be
All right.
it's the only deal that you'll get like this.
Hey, I'm down, man. Count me in.
I'll have to try it first and make sure it's good.
Okay.
I can't wait to turn 29 and be horribly disappointed.
Hopefully that will not be the case.
So yeah, my goals for last week are buy this bottle of scotch because I
Well,
work
as
80
for my
hours.
goals,
Go ahead.
'tis a good goal to reach. For my own goals from last week, the shout to libraries and vendors for Q1 2014 plans. The vendors, yes. The libraries, no. So only 50% success on that one.
How many vendors and how many
And
libraries were you
start
planning
progress
on?
on Lit Jutsu again.
Oh, are we getting a little bit of lag?
Yeah, there's some lag going
Let's see,
on.
how many is that?
Let me disconnect and try to reconnect.
Yeah, my Wi-Fi died for one, so I don't know if it's going to hold out.
Oh,
Oh, that explains it.
Hopefully we are all still here.
yep, I'm still here. Justin, you
Me
still
too.
here?
Yep.
Wi-Fi is back. Thankfully, I'm plugged in via Ethernet because the Wi-Fi card on my Mac doesn't work.
That's right.
Yeah, my computers are special. As I was saying, my progress on Lit Jutsu did not happen for the second week in a row. So, nuts. I mostly got distracted by school and work and more work and other stuff, which is about the same as what's going to be for this week. Because it's the final week of the work year. It's the final school week of the year. So everything needs to be done by Friday. Or else.
Or
Now,
else doom.
are you done with school after this, or do you still have another semester, right, until the summer?
I have 3 more classes to go. 2 in the fall, 1 in the summer, and then I graduate in August of 2014. Or die trying.
Almost there.
Well, preferably not.
You can do it.
I better. So yeah, considering I basically had 3 goals and I only really accomplished one of them, 33% success. Yay.
How many vendors and libraries did you try to contact? Maybe it's less than 30% because you only contacted 4 vendors and want to contact 40 libraries.
Uh, it's about 6 libraries that I'm hoping to get in touch with across the year, but might as well kick things off with Q1. As for vendors, let's see. 1, 2. That one was a bust.
So you contacted them,
Yeah,
so that counts.
I looked into that one. 5 vendors altogether. I got some stuff done. I'll leave it at that.
It's a start.
Hmm. And Calvin, do you have any unofficial goals retroactively for last week?
Let's see. Stay alive. Work on the websites. So I've continued continue working on the websites. The Word Ninja Network site is about 80% done, so that's a good sign, and that'll should be done by sometime this coming week, which will give me more than enough time to try to figure out what the hell I'm gonna do with the Fairfield County site because I have no fucking clue. I've been trying to hammer out ideas for this damn website for since November, and I don't know. I don't know, man.
Do we need another strategy session at some point?
If we could try to have some sort of strategic session in the coming week, that'd probably be a big help. I was looking back at all my notes, and basically all the notes were for the Word Ninja Network site, and not so much for the Fairfield County site.
Friday would be best.
Friday?
Yeah.
Friday.
Because Monday's math review, Tuesday's accounting final, Wednesday's math final, Thursday is company holiday party.
Ooh, okay. So pencil in Friday.
Yay, I have a goal for this week. Go to strategy session.
Yay, shared strategy session. Shared goals and all that good stuff.
And because we declared it on the live stream, we can't back out now.
That's right.
Accountability.
That's right, Internet. You need to hold us accountable. Oh, and speaking of goals, last week ended up having a project fall into my lap on Wednesday. Apparently, I had somebody that wanted me to put together a video, and essentially I had, what is it? One moment.
Mm-hmm. And
Well,
now to wonder what Calvin was going to say.
While he looks for his thing, my goal this week is to survive. I'm not going to put in a goal because it's just going to get ruined due to my work. But considering everything has to be done at my job on Friday, then after that, either I'll be fired or I will have everything done. So one way or the other, I can start setting goals starting next week.
I vote for the not getting fired option.
I doubt I'll get fired. I'm the head engineer there. It's going to be pretty tough to get rid of me. And considering I worked 80 hours last week, there'd be an unlawful termination lawsuit. Actually, they're a small company. They can do whatever they want. But anyways, enough distraction. So yeah, survive. If you see me in January, I will have accomplished that goal.
Hooray! As for my goals for next week, get all of my holiday cards out to all of my vendors, my coworkers, etc. Only 2 or 3 more to go. Confirm January events. We have a Fairfield County Writers Group write-in. I'm trying to see if we can get a workshop in, or if it's going to be early February. And I need to wrap up a character creation work packet that's just been kicking around my desk for longer than I'd like to admit. And study and survive Finals of Doom. Hopefully I shall survive. We'll find out next Sunday.
2015, may it be a banner year for all of us.
What about 2014?
Oh, wait, I mean, yes. What year? What year is it? That's what I meant.
Just because
Hey,
you've worked
2015
enough
also-
hours that it's 2015 for you doesn't mean it's the same for us.
That's why I've been working 80-hour weeks. I've been expanding through time. That explains my weight gain also.
So, Calvin, what was your story you were going to tell us, or something?
Oh yeah, sorry. I got distracted by a waving note in my door. But yeah, got a call Wednesday night. I was asked to put together a video that needed to be presented on Saturday. I see. I got the call Wednesday night. I got everything Thursday. Got everything I needed Thursday. Put it together that night. Presented it on Friday. And thankfully, I only had to make one edit. Make one re-edit and hand it back. So the final version was completed that Friday. So say about solid 9-10 hours of work got me a quick $250.
Nice.
So can't really complain too much about that. Kind of distracted. It was a slight distraction from everything else I was trying to put together, trying to do last week. But hey, it got done and made me some quick Christmas money. So
Hooray!
no complaints there. Let's see. As for this week's goals, finish coding and strategery. And perhaps sometime during the week, if I can find some time, work on my Christmassy type song. I got a bit of inspiration from the snowstorm yesterday.
How much snow did you get?
We really didn't get a whole lot. It looked like maybe about 4 inches at most. Good portion of it was rain, especially throughout the last night.
Yeah,
So,
we kind of peaked at 5 inches, and then a nice glazing of ice.
No, we didn't get any ice. The snow ended up turning into rain, so we got just a nice downpour after, say, around 11 o'clock last night. Let's see, the channel. How much snow did we actually get?
Of course, it's kind of hard to gauge how much did we get versus how much just accumulated.
Yeah, all the snow in Fairfield on the roads pretty much melted already. And our driveway looks pretty clean. my landlord was freaking out about not having enough sand because she thought it was going to be the snowpocalypse this weekend. And we got maybe an inch that stuck around and not on any road surfaces. So I did not go outside in the last 48 hours.
New York apparently got 5. But to be fair, a good portion of that was rain. So it doesn't count.
So much for this Snowpocalypse 2013. I'm sure there will be others.
Yeah, I wasn't betting too much on this one. But to be fair, it's better to overreact than underreact.
Yeah, unless you're the Weather Channel.
Then it's just a free-for-all.
Yeah, they have too much fun overreacting. Alright, enough snow talk. Onwards to upcoming events. They're exactly the same as last week, because they're all next month. Word Ninja's Network release sometime around the first week of January. Give or take an hour. And not suitable
something along those lines?
Yeah. And the Not Suitable for Word Ninjas podcast, episode 1 release is around January 15th. I still need to finish editing that and send it around for review, and then figure out where the heck I'm posting it. Thankfully, we still have about a month, considering today's the 15th.
I thought tomorrow was the 20th, and I was getting really scared.
That would be horrifying.
No, yeah.
Thankfully, it's not the 20th yet.
Nope.
And by the time the Not Suitable for Word Ninjas podcast is ready to go, I should have some back-end stuff ready on the FC Writers site.
Hooray!
To help facilitate distribution and things of that nature.
Hooray!
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
Yeah, we're all a little overworked at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in the meantime, writing prompts. Because we might as well keep the show rolling while we all fall apart.
Emotionally.
Too late.
Alright, writing prompts. As always, we provide 10 one-liners, we provide 10 one-worders, and we utilize Rory's story cubes to create a 9-dice image prompt thing. Da-da-da. Now it's my turn to screen share. If I had it on the right page. Try that again. We do that. We do... I said we do that. Helps if I click on the right thing. Alright. Alright, we got 3 of us and we got 3 types of writing prompts. Who wants what?
I'll do the one-liners today. Haven't done them yet.
Alright.
Too many people ordered an apocalypse for today. No canines are allowed in the Canine Enrichment Center. You can't go bribing every official with cookies. I live for strategic tragedies or strategies. I'm not part of some romance trilogy. I'm a standalone hit. I'm not going to the convention with you dressed as a demonic koala. We're here to have fun, so start with the entertainment already. If you sell my books, I'll sell you. Why are you wearing that slinky dress? The world tasted like purple for a moment.
All
And
right,
it's funny
Calvin.
how different inflections can give totally different meanings to sentences.
Hmm. All right, Calvin. Would you like the one-worders or the story cubes?
um, I'll do the one-worders.
Okie dokie.
The one-worders for this week are Mayor, Dungeon, Finals, Kappa, Howl, Forensics, Rehab, Throne, Rogue, and Kindling. So there.
And as for the story cube combination for this week, as always, I say we do not own and are not sponsored by Rory Story Cubes. We just enjoy them. And the story cubes for this week is a concerned-looking person dropping a ball. Maybe it's breakable. A couple funky little palaces. An absurd amount of arrows pointing in every direction. We got 3 gears. I haven't seen that one yet. We have a phone ringing, which
That's not on
unfortunately I
there.
can do nothing about. We have a happy-looking person digging a hole or filling a hole up. We have the Earth, or at least a close approximation of it. We have a tent. We have someone looking and pointing at something. And we have a blindfolded person poking another person's head.
That person looks quite concerned.
Yeah, I would be too.
Oh my.
And those are the story cubes for this week. And all the other writing prompts for that matter. And
Yes,
as
works.
always, it is not necessary to use all of the writing prompts at once or even any of them. They're just meant as an extra resource for you to use when your muse is tired and cranky, or there are deadlines to be made. And considering it's the end of the year, it's probably both. And if you write a flash fiction or short story piece utilizing any of these prompts, we would love to read it. Email us a copy of your short piece or the URL where we can read it, and you can send that over to wordninja@fcwriters.com. And we shall read and review it on a future episode of this podcast. And with that, take the screen sharing off.
The story cube with the arrows pointing everywhere looks kind of like the chaotic good symbol.
Alright, is there anything else people would like to say before I take it to the brought to you by?
I think I'm good.
Nope.
Alright. This week, as always, we are brought to you by Fairy Tale Podcast. If you're into the fairy tale manga or anime, the Fairy Tale Podcast live streams via YouTube on Monday nights at around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tune in for manga and anime reviews, fanfic dubbing, cosplay appreciation, and more. They are most entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, they're usually sober, except for last week, which made it even more hilarious. And we're also brought to you by books. Want some of your very own? Go over to fcwriters.com, scroll down to the bottom, and use the Amazon or Books A Million link to purchase your books or shiny baubles. And if you want some of our very own products, go to our store, also at fcwriters.com. We are still selling the Word Ninja book, now discounted to $9.99, so $10 basically. And you can own a print copy of your very own. And if you just want to donate to us, we have a PayPal donation link directly posted in the Word Ninjas podcast page. See if I can get that right. Now we have tiered donation benefits. depending on how much you want to give to us. If you donate $1, you get a shout out. You can promote your site, your social media account, your own podcast, or just say hello. If you up that to $5, you can ask a talking points question or an interesting website of the week now. So if there's something you want us to banter about or dig into, for $5, you'll get the entire crew talking. And if you go all out with $10, you can sponsor an entire episode and join us. So you can join us in our ridiculous shenanigans and derailments. And that is all. Now, it is time to say, who the heck are we anyway, and where can people find us on the internets? I'm going to start with Calvin, because I can.
Fine. All right. Let's see, where do we start here?
At the beginning.
Why do that? What's the fun in that? All right. Let's see. You can find me at fcwriters.com. You can email me at thewebmaster@fcwriters.com. You can also find me over at the music website Riffraff. That's riffraff.net, riffraf. You can email me there at calvin@riffraff.net. If you're interested in checking out some of the websites and various fun things that I do on at any given moment, my personal website is calvin.cwillia.ms. The email address there is calvin@cwillia.ms. Let me stop messing around with the show notes. Okay, Twitter and Instagram, you can find me at ccwii, and on Tumblr, you can find me at Instacal. So there.
And how about Justin?
You can find my currently derelict website at facingmyreality.com. I assure you it will be up and running January 2014. I already even have an article that has been written up and edited, so that bought me an extra week. But there's a lot that needs to get done, and it will get done while I'm on vacation for a week and a half. So I'm looking forward to that. You can email me at info@facingmyreality.com. Facebook page is facebook.com/facingmyrealityblog. Google Plus is still a bunch of random numbers. Twitter, you can find me at a slowly increasingly posted Twitter account at facingmyreality as well. Made it super easy for everybody.
Alright, as for myself, my personal Twitter handle is silver_wolf85, although that's pretty derelict, to be fair. I don't really have other personal sites of social media worth giving out. I'm not a very talkative person online, unless it's for full coverage writers, which can be found at fcwriters.com. And for that place's social media, we're over at Tumblr, fcwordninja.tumblr.com. Facebook is facebook.com/fullcoveragewriters. Our literary Twitter handle is at fcwordninja. And as always, you can email us about anything and everything over at wordninja@fcwriters.com. And with that, we are going to sign out for yet another week. And hopefully we all survive to come back next Sunday.
Fingers crossed.
I'm just hoping that we can make it to episode 25 before the end of the year.
I reckon we can make it.
And perhaps we'll even be able to succeed in some of our goals by then.
We'll see about that.
Yeah, as long as work and life and weather don't get too much in the way. No guarantees.
All we can do is try.
Well, with that, we shall sign out. Until next week all.
Later.
Take care. And I've only just gotten back into reading on a regular basis, but a lot of it has been, you know, uh, nonfiction. I really have to start getting into reading more fiction. Ironically enough, the only fiction book that's in circulation on my tablet is another recent Stephen King novel. Uh, at one point, I attempted to read the Lord of the Rings, and after the first third of the first book, and they were still wandering around in the woods, not doing anything particularly interesting, I sort of lost interest in the epicness of that. Um, but I'm probably going to retry that at some point when I have uh, more reading under my belt. And I picked up a bunch of Discworld stuff, so I'm trying to play catch up, and do some more, light reading. I don't need to read tomes like uh, A Song of Ice and Fire and whatnot. I just need to read more, and I think that will ultimately help my writing. I have a huge book list of horror novels that I have to write, so I'm sure I'll be slowly developing my voice as I write. But I'm still, a fledgling in the writing and reading world, and this question only proved that to me.
Believe me, you're not the only one. I have piles upon piles upon piles of books that are on my list to read, but
Good afternoon, ladies and menfolk, and welcome to episode 23 of Word Ninjas Live. For this week, we have Peoples. Calvin has returned from the land of the busy.
I'm still in the land of the busy right now, but figured I'd take a little bit of time to join in on the madness. Also, hello everybody.
And Justin has also returned from the land of the extra busy.
Yep, 80-hour work week last week. Trying to take some rest days, and figured I'd come join you. That's why I have the disheveled look right now. This will all be repaired come next week, Christmas vacation, which I hopefully don't have to work through.
And then you got myself, who is just returning from the land of the sick.
Really, what happened?
There's like a 24-hour stomach bug going around that I was so far able to avoid until yesterday.
Oh, good times.
Not really.
Is that one of the reasons why you're in black and white right now?
Yeah, I got so sick that the colors disappeared.
It's a pretty serious bug, man. Hope
Now,
you're
did
feeling
they
better.
disappear, or were all the colors expelled? And I'll just leave it at that.
Considering this is still a
Like every single one of my classmates wrote about like hip hop and everything related to like urban culture. I would write about beat poetry and like have stories that was like reminiscent of like Jerry Lewis style slapstick. So it's basically like my writing, my voice is just a mixture of everything I've come across that has ever really caught my attention. And depending on what I write, I try to either augment it accordingly or pick from like 5 or 6 of those influences. That's about it.
Has anything post-90s influenced you at all? Or is it only the 90s?
Oh, there's plenty post-90s influences, but the majority is like 90s. the ones that have really stuck with me. Trying to think. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was trying to think of some post-90s influences. Oh, post 90s, like most of my influences were music based. So between all the TV I've watched in the 90s and all the music I've listened to in the 2000s and currently. And the random cartoons here and there. Post 90s.
Yeah, I've unfortunately not developed a voice at all. Uh, Growing up, I was obsessed with horror, and so read a lot of Goosebumps, followed by some of the other more insidious R.L. Stein stuff. You know, the Fear Street. You know, horrific casual violence really intrigued me growing up. And then eventually I discovered Stephen King, and then I basically stopped reading anything else. And I've literally read every single word that Stephen King read up until he moved to Florida, and then I sort of tapered off from there. But I have a large hardcover collection. And then when I ran out of Stephen King books at a certain point, I ultimately stopped reading because I felt lost, and I didn't know what to do with myself anymore. And that went on for nearly a decade of just not reading anything. And that was when school started picking up.
EG-ish show. Let's just leave it at that.
No, done.
Presumably, Will and Ed are both battling retail at the moment, and probably will be for the rest of this year. I don't really expect to see either of them anytime soon.
Not until the new year, at least.
Yeah. But in the meantime, maybe we should get this show a-rolling. Got a couple of talking points this week. First one being, how do you create your voice in your writing? Or what is your literary style?
That's a good one.
Or creative style, as need be.
I can't really pin down my particular creative style because a lot of it is influenced by a lot of TV that I've watched in the throughout the entire 90s, not limited to like every single Warner Brothers cartoon that came out in the 90s, which would explain a lot about me if most people ever met me. It was always interesting, especially like junior high school, especially writing short stories and things like that, because while